The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to Success Secrets Exposed with Sally A. Curtis, where we share stories of challenge, success, and inspiration, along with practical tips and strategies to move you forward to your success. And now, here is your host, Sally A. Curtis.
Good evening, good morning, and good day to you all, and welcome to another episode of Success Secrets Exposed, where we talk to today's thought leaders, change makers, and disruptors to bring you tools and tips to help you grow. And today you're in for an absolute treat. For those that are new to the show, I'm a content repurposing whiz for speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants. And my role is to help them turn their book into 2 years' worth of social media posts, effectively helping them turn their existing content into new profits. And today I have a fellow marketeer with me, and we're going to be talking to Linda Barutha, who is a marketing and content repurposer, much like me, but in a very, very different way. And most importantly, her inner genius or her greatest skill is SEO. She's an SEO whiz. And Linda is also a mother of 2 adult daughters and comes from a background of 25 years in IT. So she's been an IT specialist. So she knows the power of the right tech at the right time to maximize growth. And we're going to be digging into that as well as Pinterest today. And now she actually is supporting online global coaches go beyond 6 figures by creating lead funnels that are on autopilot. And there's 2 quotes that I read when I was researching Linda that really resonate with me and obviously are favourites to her. And that the first one is, there are more ways than one way to run your business, which I love because, you know, we like to be outside of the box. And success is 95% mindset and 5% strategy. So some great quotes there from Linda. So today we're going to be talking about Pinterest takes the lead and ways to work smarter, not harder. So please help me welcome Linda to the show.
Hi, Sally.
Hello. Lovely to see you again.
You too. It's been a while.
It has been a while, but you know what happens when 2 marketeers get in the same room together? We collide. And I love that about our conversation. So I'm super excited to be sharing your inner genius and your wisdoms with the audience today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here.
I'd love to start digging into a little bit more of your backstory, if we can, and if you can fill in some of the gaps that I missed out about your backstory, that would be lovely.
Okay, great. So where do you want me to start as far as the first time I was an entrepreneur? Or,
I think it's that sort of that bridging that, you know, coming out of corporate, understanding tech in a magnificent way that you do, and then how that's all helped you be the expert entrepreneur and found you where you are now.
Yeah. So when I was working in corporate years ago, I literally stumbled on the opportunity to have my own brick and mortar shop. Mm-hmm. And I decided to do that on the evenings and weekends so that I could do both, right? And the shop was actually as a mixed media artist. And so what I did is I taught other people how to paint, okay, and let go of their inhibitions, if you will. And then so for instance, what I would do back then is to always keep things interesting is I would go to Pinterest and I would find something that people always oohed and ahed about. And the name of the class was Pinterest Made Me Do It, because I would duplicate what it was that they had made, right? So people were always like, oh, yeah, I had no problem with people signing up.
Mm.
And but eventually what had happened is I ran that business for 3 years, and in that time frame, I ended up developing my own product line of a substrate, if you will, something that people could paint on,
Mhm.
and sold it wholesale in about 15 other stores and on Zulily online.
Mm.
And so it was a really it was a whirlwind. It happened
Yeah,
really quickly.
fast.
Um, so that was interesting. But then what happened is my husband's job had us relocating, and we relocated 3 hours away outside of town. So I had to close the shop.
Sure.
I had to leave the job. And then I had to start over, right?
Mm.
I didn't feel like it was the right move to start a new brick and mortar
Mhm.
because I didn't know anybody there, and it was just different. And so
Mm.
I really turned to the online space, and I struggled for like a year or two, and then I gave up. I
Yeah.
literally took a step back because it was very challenging for
Yeah.
me because I have always worked, I worked in IT, so
Yeah.
super comfortable with the internet, super comfortable, but I didn't know marketing.
Yeah.
I did not know how to sell myself online.
Mm.
Um, and that was a huge stumbling block. And so after I took some time off, then I came back to it with gangbusters.
Yes, true entrepreneur. Yes.
Yes, yes. And I was like, I am going to tackle this,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, you've got the hand going too. Yeah, it's on.
Yes, yes. And so I really studied a lot of marketing online. And the first thing that really resonated with me was the concept of building your email list.
Mhm.
That sounded very intelligent.
Mm.
Come up with your own audience that you can then speak to all the time.
Yeah.
And so I did that, really diving into it. But then I still struggled with what am I gonna what's my product? What am
Yeah,
I
what are you gonna
right?
sell? What are you
Right.
gonna offer? Yeah,
What am
yeah,
I what's my offer? Exactly.
yeah.
And for the longest time you think I don't have anything to offer, which is ridiculous.
Yes, and don't we overcomplicate that bit because what we actually offer is some of the simplistic stuff ever, but we overcomplicate it for ourselves and
We do. We do for the longest time.
I
And
know.
and so it was more of an internal battle. I
Mm,
think we go through more of our own um mind, our self-talk
yeah,
that we have that's what we're battling with more
yeah,
so than what's right in front of us, right?
yeah, yeah, so true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And I think that was why I resonated with your, 95% versus 5% because it was such a strong reminder of that battle. And as you said, that battle is internal when everything is actually already three-quarters done and ready for us right in front of us if we actually just have the ability to see it. Yeah.
exactly. Well, and what's kind of funny about that one now that I think about it is that the way I even stumbled upon getting the opportunity to have a brick and mortar shop,
Yes.
I was doing website design freelance,
Mm,
which I didn't value whatsoever. And it was a shop owner who was my client
got you.
that I was working for, a couple years.
Mm,
And she didn't know anything about the online space, but she knew everything about, her brick and mortar.
yeah, yeah.
And it was really interesting because, again, I didn't value that. It's like,
Mm.
well, hellos, continue making websites for people, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice that. Like, I just discounted it, so anyway, so I eventually, once I really got into overcoming my own mindset obstacles, then it was, I did some coaching of
Mhm.
other business owners because just like with the original store owner, I was of value to her,
Mm,
because
mm,
I knew something from my comfort level.
mhm.
I've always been one of those people that can just teach myself anything technical,
Yeah,
just I'm very comfortable with it.
yeah. So you're at
And,
ease with it.
and again, you don't appreciate that though.
No, no.
You don't feel like you've really made it unless you accomplish something that is really hard for you.
Yeah, yeah. But the effortless genius is actually where the slipstream and the ease and where we really should be playing. But yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah. So
continue.
anyways, I eventually sorted it all out,
Yeah.
came to see all these people on social media that supposedly talk
Mm,
about always getting their sales there.
mhm.
But I'm one of those observers, and
Yes.
I was just like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And it seems like everybody's fighting for attention all the time,
Mm, mm.
with everything that they're saying on social media.
Yep.
So then I really dove more into search engine platforms
Yeah.
like Pinterest and Google and YouTube. And I went, that
Mm.
that's exactly how the internet was designed to work.
Aha, see, here's the magic insight. So let me, just if I may, just on this, just so everyone's captured this, because here in Australia, and I think I mentioned this to you originally when we spoke, Pinterest isn't really a big thing other than, as you said, checking out pins of, getting inspiration. It's not actually used as a business tool. So from an SEO perspective, to make things easier for you, we've got the three houses, or platforms, which is Pinterest, YouTube, and Google. Was that correct?
Yes.
Beautiful. I just
Yes.
wanted to reiterate
So
that. Mm,
Google is king, right? Google is the number one largest search engine platform.
mm,
And they're the ones that actually developed the way we search for things
mm,
online.
mm,
With the keywords, you go in and you type in what you're looking for, and it gives you results.
mm.
And so, wouldn't you love to be found that way? Right? Wouldn't
Yeah.
you want your business to be found like that? And to me, I was like, well, yeah, that's the objective, right?
Mm,
Everybody wants to be on that front page of Google results.
mm,
Um, but then when I found out that Pinterest
mm.
is actually the third largest, and
Oh, wow.
it's very pretty, it's visual. And
Mm,
then I looked closer and I saw, oh, I used Pinterest when I had my brick and mortar, right?
mm.
Not just for inspiration, but also I always was putting on there everything that I created
So
because,
using it for lead
I
gen.
was an artist. So I
Yeah.
always
Mm,
put my stuff out there to
mm,
advertise. And then what happened is I decided a couple of years ago, I said, you know what? Because the downside of being really technical is that because you know how to do it, you just automatically do it, right? But it eats up all your time.
mm,
And
mm,
I wanted to upscale. I wanted to be the CEO of
mm,
my own business, right?
mhm.
So in one day, I hired 3 virtual assistants.
Okay. I get that. That's going to scare a lot of people because I know, as you now know, the time it takes to hire one person and on board, but you've done it with 3. So yeah,
In
please
one day.
attest to that. Yeah, in one day.
And because, first of all, I had a hard time saying no to any of them. And because I'm a people person and I really liked them, but I liked
Mm,
them all for different
different
reasons.
reasons.
And
Yeah.
they each had very unique skills. One of the girls was really good with Pinterest, and I was
Mhm.
intrigued, right?
Mm,
And so that's all I had her do is she would repurpose my blog posts and my lead magnets, my opt-ins over onto Pinterest. And within 2 weeks, I
mm,
went from maybe 5 people a day looking at my website to 2 to 300.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, what? This is gold,
Yeah.
like I'm actually getting more people seeing my website. So I've dived in. I had to take a closer look at what was
Yeah.
going on. And that's when I realized, yes, it is that, because it's a search engine. It's using the combination of the right keywords, and it's a combination of both visual and text, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it really, really does bring you fresh new eyes on your website. And that's very powerful.
Mm.
And it was the first time in ages I've seen anything that really works, right?
Yeah.
So I did actually, though, because most people consider Pinterest to be where you go for a food recipe, or
Yeah.
for,
I'm gonna ask
an art project, or, you know, something like
very
that.
cute pictures of animals.
Yeah,
I have a ferret. I have a ferret pin. So yeah. So
yeah,
that's It's people have a limited view of the potential or the opportunity that actually sits there, and that's really what I wanted to dive into. So
right.
please
Yeah,
continue.
because I went out there and I searched for business coaches,
On
and
Pinterest.
oh my gosh, there for online business coaches, there's quite a few,
Mhm.
and their numbers look really good.
Yeah.
And they are also, coincidentally, people that I don't really see trying to drum up business on social media,
Mm,
because they don't need to. They
yes.
know the secret, right?
Yeah. Found the secret sauce. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was really, really completely sold on it. And not only that, there's a lot of um, your transformational mindset coaches,
Mhm.
there's financial people out there, there's the health and fitness people.
Mm,
Those are a lot of people that just have an online business, and they
yes.
are marketing on Pinterest.
Yeah, and I think that's for me, being a predominantly visual person, and lots of the clients I work with and their clients are visual. I think we get that element of Pinterest, that you're going to put images up there, but I think we're not good at joining the dots of how to use the visual with the text and direct it back to how we actually use it as a lead generation
Right.
platform, really.
Because when you create those things that you put on Pinterest are called pins. And
Mhm.
when you create that pin, not only are you putting that beautiful graphic image on there, but you get to give it a title, you can
Mhm.
give it a description, and you can give it a URL to point back to. So, for instance, if you wrote a nice article or blog post
Mm.
on your website, you just go ahead and create that image and then put in the appropriate heading
Mhm.
that would make sense. The relevancy is important.
Mhm.
And then the description, but then you're going to point it back to the original
Right.
article on
Yeah.
your website for them to read the actual what you wrote.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So in that instance, it's not about See, this is where I've come unstuck, because I think, the more the merrier from an image perspective. But it's actually in this instance a single image with a really relevant, correct title, an appealing and captivating snapshot or description of what the article's about, and then the link to be able to read more. So you're actually directionalizing, and you're actually leading people or inviting people to consume more.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's gold,
And
isn't it?
that's why it works, right?
Mm,
Um, so, and of course, you can do ads on there as well. You know,
know
um,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's not as expensive as Facebook or all the other social media ones, but yeah, it can do really well. So no, this is like the best kept secret that bloggers have known for years and years.
Yeah, wow. So how does when somebody gets started, what's the best way for somebody to get started on Pinterest that's effective? Because I know when I started and was playing on your website this morning and I looked at the audit button and I went cringe, not doing that, cringe, not going there, because I remember when we started it was just a case I just flick some images up there. So there's absolutely no strategy. There's just lots of, pretty pictures up there. And I now know that that's totally incorrect because of the conversations we'd had, and super excited to be getting that corrected and fixed. So how does somebody start with best practices on Pinterest, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, well, the first thing is to kind of do your homework and know what those proper keywords would be, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That are relevant to your business.
Yeah.
That is crucial because you want to make sure that that's gonna they're gonna match, if you will, the keywords that you have set up also in your SEO on your website, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that helps tremendously, the consistency. So you're gonna really take a close look at that, which if you have written content on your website, I am gonna make the assumption, and if I'm wrong, you're gonna go back and correct it, that content is what I like to call cornerstone content.
Yep.
It speaks directly to what it is that you do.
Yeah.
Right. So then what you're going to do, so when you have those keywords, you're going to go out there if you're brand new and you're going to set up your little profile banner and you're going to use some of your keywords to be very descriptive on what it is that you do. Okay. That's the first thing. Because people at a glance, they need to clearly get a really quick snapshot of who you are, what you do. And then there's also a description on your profile description, which you also will fill out. And again, now this does not, gone are the days that there's any keyword stuffing.
Yes.
Every platform is onto that, so don't do that. Yeah. But so that's how you would get started. And what's really interesting, this is a really important tidbit that I had to discover on my own. When you first start on Pinterest, the best thing is not to just put your own content on there.
Yeah.
You want to start by finding other like-minded, right? The other content that's already on Pinterest that is your same industry. They're talking about the same topics that you're going to be talking about, right? In your content. And pin those to your own board.
Yep.
Because what you're doing is you're training Pinterest to understand what
you do,
what your account's all about. So
if
you just throw up, you're brand new and you just throw up all your stuff. It's still like, huh?
Who is she? What is she doing? Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
But if you take someone who's already existing and has had eyes on their stuff already, they tend to know them already.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I was to put that into Sally terms, because, LinkedIn is my area, what you've actually just done there is you've actually utilized and networked in someone else's network to create leverage for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
That's
Brilliant.
what you do on Pinterest when you get started.
Yeah,
And
great.
most people don't tell you that, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Pinterest is very clearly for us here in Australia, because as I said, it's sort of not something that we use for business. And it took me, being in the US in some networking events when people were saying that they were using Pinterest for lead generation. It's like, Pinterest? or if you're not on Pinterest, you need to have it because you need it for SEO, and it's like, Pinterest? I don't get that. So, and that was where the curiosity has come from. It is from understanding that, it's and sort of hearing so many people use it very effectively out of the US. So it was sort of like they're onto a secret there. I need to find out what this is.
Yeah.
So that's been gold to sort of discover that. So when it comes to when you've got your Pinterest up and running, you talked about blog posts with directing it back to the full article on your website. What are the other sort of links or URLs that you would use on Pinterest? Is it always just directionalizing it to articles, or where else could you directionalize it that's advantageous?
Yeah. Well, almost anything on your website,
Okay.
really. Like you have a quiz on there you want people to take. Definitely direct them there. If you have one of my new favorites is Google Web Stories. So Google in 2021, so not that long ago, last year, Google came out with Google Web Stories. And what it looks just like the stories like you'd see on Instagram, right? But because it's from Google, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Because what will happen if it can actually show up, the story can pop up in search results of Google, which means now, I'm going to go to the graphic, right? That catches my eye as opposed to just all the text in a search result, right? So Google Web Stories is actually a plugin that they developed for a website, a WordPress website. So you can create this, so you can do it. It can be like a video, or it can be a slides, that type of thing. But the point is you could be directing people from Pinterest to it.
Yeah.
And
So
again, another thing to use.
If I've understood that correctly, because with Google Stories, it's a story. It's not multitudes of stories. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's one story.
Yeah, nice. Yep.
And here's the beauty too of Pinterest. Let's say somebody they see your beautiful graphic on Pinterest and they say, "Oh, I do want to read more. I want to look further. I'm curious." So they follow your link back to your website. And then they go out, I'm really not interested. I don't, have time to read it or whatever. And they hop back off your website.
Yep.
Well, guess what though? They helped you. They helped your Google ranking because they took the time to click over to your website. That every time that happens, that's building up your credibility with Google.
Yeah.
It helps you increase your ranking with Google, right? Because it sees the type of content. Oh, somebody else was interested in this, right?
Yeah.
And so then when it comes again to people doing searches through Google, because your ranking is going up, the chances of you showing up on, earlier pages, if you will, of Google results, the better. Yeah.
So it's really helping you bolster or strengthen the directory service of Google.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Yes. So to me, when people are like all sad, like, well, I'm getting all this traffic, but I'm not getting sales. And it's like, it's not about, yeah, we always want sales,
We
but
all want sales, but
really, you want more eyes, and you're making improvements all along the way.
Right. So it becomes, it's not that tick and flick or that one off thing. What you're doing is you've always got incremental increases because you're incrementally increasing your robustness within the directory.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
And then what's really fun is when you take let's say people do a lot of Facebook lives, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a Facebook live, and like what my team does is we uh, repurpose that recording over onto YouTube to
Mhm.
build up their YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
But then we also make a pin that goes to it.
Wow. So that, hold on, let me just, as a content repurposer and that doesn't do this, this is why I love talking to Linda. We've gone Facebook Live, we've gone YouTube, and then we've gone Pinterest, all of which is dramatically helping your search engine optimization.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah. It
Yeah.
is. I love it. I love
Mm.
it. It's like that's the way you should be repurposing content.
Brilliant.
And this is exactly why I'm such an advocate for these
Mm.
search engines, because they're really doing a lot more work for you,
Than what we
as
realize.
opposed to putting something just on social media. I have
Yeah.
plenty of people that they have a lot of those Facebook lives and they want to get off of social media. And, I'm right now, I know plenty of people too that are really migrating over to LinkedIn from
Mm.
Facebook because they they are finally valuing that they're going to talk business with other business owners on LinkedIn.
And build deeper relationships. That's, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely what I find with LinkedIn. I've been a LinkedIn girl for about 13 years, never really played much in Facebook other than putting content out for the sake of putting content out. But LinkedIn has always been the place where it's been, creating relationships, conversations like ours, creating joint ventures, doing workshops together, sharing referrals, opening up the network. There's just so much
Yeah.
more business in all of its different forms, and friendships, and deeper
Mhm.
friendships I found within LinkedIn. And I know you talked about Pinterest, YouTube, and Google being search engines, but of course, from my experience, LinkedIn's also a search engine too, which I
Right.
know we touched on as well. Yeah, I really love the depth and the simplicity which comes with all of your expertise in IT of, really this. It's twofold for me, because most people, even in my own case, we leverage in one way. We get stuck in a one-way leverage,
Yeah.
which is repurposing your content. Great. But what we're doing here is we're actually getting a twofold leverage, because yes, we're learning how to repurpose our content, but now we're using that content to leverage the search engines and the directory of finding us by
Yeah.
using it by using the content that you've repurposed in a much more strategic manner, by using the platforms that are there for us to utilize in the best fashion that's possible and in an easy way.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It is not difficult. And to me, this is why I call it working smarter, not harder.
Mm, mm, mm.
You know,
And I know we talked and laughed at the beginning of the episode about how we overcomplicate things for ourselves, and our brain tells us that it's got to be trickier, or it's got to be harder, or there's got to be a catch, and all those things, where reality, it's so often stepped out so easily for us.
yeah,
So let's talk about that shift in mindset, because obviously you've experienced it, I've experienced it, and we both of because we share similar clients, a lot of our clients have got into that, that different variation of the hamster wheel, where now they're often creating content and getting it up on all the social media platforms, but they're still 90 days or 12 months down the track going, am I going to get some clients from this at some point? Is this worth it? Because they've got stuck on the wrong combination of the hamster wheel, or they're stuck on the
yeah,
wrong hamster wheel thinking social media posting is just all that they need to do, whereas posting with a little bit more of a clearer strategy around it's going to really elevate what they're doing. So share
well,
with us what you see as common problems and solutions that you provide for your clients.
yeah. A lot of people, when I first meet with a client, I really take a close look at what
Mm.
existing content they have, right? And I really stress to them the importance again about that cornerstone content. And the reason I do that is because I don't believe that you're going to have to continue to write new content all the time. All you have to do is write about the key areas of what your cornerstone content of what it is that you do and spread that over, I don't know, I'll say 30, 60 different articles, right? In one format or another, and they all reside on your website.
Yeah.
And then we repurpose in all the ways that I just described, right, onto the search engines. Well, then just recycle every 6 months. There's no reason, unless there's been a new product or service that you are offering. There is no reason that you have to continually create new content if it's still relevant to what you do for your clients, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is my objective.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just come back to the cornerstone content, because I get it in theory and I say it a different way, and I just want to make sure for the audience that are hearing you call it cornerstone content, and I call it big word and 5 topics. So in my world, it's, what's your big word? And often that can be for the year, but what's the big word? So mine's leverage. So, how do we work out what are the things underneath leverage? And the word leverage isn't used in the marketing. It's just my word, because that's the way I like to look at things. So it's as it relates to growth. So my topics would be growth, content repurposing, marketing strategies as it relates to those, so that how that all ties in, and then maximizing networks and opportunities through people. So they're all leverage and growth related, and they're all marketing related, but I've got specific key topics. So when you say cornerstone, are you relating to the big word and the related topics that would be? So if it was leadership, it would be perhaps it's leadership, and then you might have people as a topic, HR as a topic, recruiting as a topic.
There's 2 different ways you can look at it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
One is what you're doing, works definitely for your content creation.
Yeah.
But some people will call it your framework.
Yes, that's a better way of that.
Yes. So, for instance, when you if you've been in the online business industry for a long time, you're usually familiar with what framework means, which it basically is the content pillars of what it is that you focus in on providing for your clients, right?
Yeah.
So for me, my cornerstone content, the way I like to think of it, is Pinterest, repurposing on Pinterest, YouTube, right? SEO, and website design.
Yeah, got you.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Right? Those are like my pillars of what I am focused in on. But the overarching word, if you will, is the use of search engine platforms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I mean by cornerstone content. So you need to clearly, and each business owner knows their own personal. These are the topics I, talk about regularly, and this is representative of the services that I provide, that I love to educate people about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think you've said the key thing there, whereas I've gone content as it relates, and that sort of dived into more of the book frameworky type thing, is you've actually bridged the gap there. Your cornerstone content is yes, it's about your topics and what you talk on, but it's as it relates to the services that you provide. Yeah, beautiful. Well said. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So where were we?
I would love you to, we were talking about the bridging of the gap of, I suppose, the mindset and the possibilities, which is where
Oh,
the cornerstone content came in. But I'd love to hear some of, some of the common problems and the services and the solutions in which you can help people, because so many people as we were saying, get stuck on that hamster wheel of content creation and thinking that they've got to continually do it. Whereas you very eloquently said, once you've got your content pillars and your pieces, you could actually just repurpose and recycle.
yes, exactly. So a lot of what I see is business owners that either they have outsourced, like one or two of the tasks in their
Mm,
business, but it's taking a little time, giving them a little more time back, but it's not really doing anything else for their business, right? They're not going to get a
mm,
return on investment,
investment. Yeah.
right? So like go back to when I hired those 3
Mm,
virtual assistants. You know, one of them definitely did take some time off of my, to free me up, right?
mhm.
But the Pinterest one, now to
Mm,
me, that was more of a return on investment, right?
yeah.
Um, so that was more important for me to continue to do that and invest in having that done.
Mm,
So you need to be really cautious. The other thing is, people will come to me and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, well, I can just have my virtual assistant do that Pinterest thing for me." And then I always have to say to them, "Well, that's great. So does she specialize in Pinterest? Is she current on all the changes that they make on a regular basis?" And you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
you need to be aware that it's not just, I have this quick task and I'm just going to do it,
Yeah.
right?
It's used strategically is where you get your return on investment.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because I have some assistants that, they do certain tasks for me, and you know, there's not going to be a return. But now
Mm,
the ones that actually I am going to get a return on, well, then those are the ones that I need to invest in. That's why I
mm,
try to point out and explain to clients. A lot of times they come to me and they've been doing everything, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And then every time they turn around, there's something that they don't know how to do. Like, let's say they want to launch, okay?
Mhm,
And they have to go and search for somebody that can support and do all that work for them.
mm,
And then they want to have that Pinterest strategy. And then so what we've kind of done in the past month is we put together a beautiful program, which is called Be True to You.
oh, yes. I'm glad you're talking about this. Thank you.
And so what Be True to You does is I have taken a lot of our services that we would do for people one off, right?
Mm,
All of
mhm,
them are full concierge.
yeah.
All of them are things that, we are basically doing all that technical work for you.
Yeah.
But now I've bundled it
Yeah. Lovely.
because my clients, they needed help in all these different areas, right?
Mm,
Because that was going to give them truly what they needed. And when I speak with a client and I take an overview look of
mhm,
where they're at in their business and what it is that they need, and if I see that they need all of these gaps filled
mm,
and they don't understand the technology and that's not their specialty,
mm,
well, then it only makes sense that they would be part of this Be True to You program
mm.
where we take all of that off of their plate.
Right. Yeah.
We meet with them every week and we discuss the strategies. They have a clear, they're educating us on their business and
Mhm,
what's important to them. And then we get to basically make it come to life on the
mm.
back end.
Yeah. Beautiful. And also, too, I know we're getting close, and I knew we'd get giddily excited and we'd run out of time. We're not quite there yet, but I'd love for you to talk about your visibility ranking quiz, because I know
Sure.
Roxy's in the background, and then I'll go across the ticker. So, can you share us a little bit? And Roxy, if you can pop the link across the screen, that would be good, because it's Linda Bath.
Barutha.
Barutha.com. Sorry, I was going to trip on that again. I apologize. As you can see, it's up on the screen there. So for those that are listening to the show later, it's www.lindabarutha.com. And you can grab Linda's free visibility ranking quiz. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I was really thinking about how I could come up with a tool that really, because to me, you don't know what you don't know, right?
So true. Yeah.
And so when I tell people that I am an online visibility strategist, they are like, And it's like, okay, I thought about it, and it's like, you need to have a measurement. How good are you doing in your visibility online?
Yeah.
Because then it helps guide you to what you should be doing or could be doing, right?
Correct.
So I came up with this quiz, this online visibility ranking quiz. And it just asks you, there's not too many questions, it only takes 2 minutes to do.
Yeah.
But what happens is when you get your results, it's going to be unique to the answers to your questions, but also it's going to give you some actionable next step tips.
Beautiful.
And so it really depends on what level you're at, what would be logically the next step for you.
Brilliant. So if as part of a recap, there's a great place for you to start to your own quest to getting and increasing your own visibility by checking out Linda's visibility ranking. And of course, for those that are wanting to scale or wanting to launch, do check out the other program, which is called Be True to You, which I caught a glimpse of this morning. And do reach out to Linda, obviously, on Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Google. Just make sure I have this one there. Lots of highly valuable information there if you're really looking to scale and grow your business, and do things in a much more strategic and easier manner to give yourself time and flow back. Then do certainly reach out to Linda. Any closing comments or suggestions or anything from you, please, Linda?
Sally, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. We always lose track of time when we talk. I really hope that I have enlightened some people with a new way of looking at their online business.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely think you have. And I think that was the key takeaway for me was talking about the mindset and the strategy, but also there's more than one way to run your business. Mm-hmm. And what I think you've really, really highlighted for us today is that there is more than one way to run your business, and that it is actually a simple way and a less confusing way when we get ourselves out of the way and actually realize what we already have at our fingertips. So thank you so much for joining us. What we'll do just very, very quickly is just run a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and do a wrap for the show. Thank you very, very much.
Are you a speaker, coach, or consultant wanting to increase your reach and impact? Need to save time and leverage your resources? Content repurposing is the fastest way to increase your visibility, credibility, and profitability online and reach your audience with ease. You already sit on a mountain of gold that is highly valuable to your audience. It's in your books, training manuals, articles, and presentations. We regularly turn clients' books into 12 to 24 months worth of content. Let us turn your existing content into visually stunning, bite-sized content tiles. Content repurposing is the easiest way to turn your past into profits. Turn your existing content into bite-sized glitter that you can sprinkle everywhere with ease to attract your ideal audience. Let us amplify your voice, your message, and your impact. Find out more at sallyacurtis.biz.
So I just want to say thank you very, very much again for you, Linda. Everything that I do is the step before what Linda does. So Linda is really the person that takes what I've done from a content repurposing perspective and makes it work much better and creates much more leverage for you. So a couple of closing comments phrases that I've also picked up from Linda that I wanted to share with you as the audience was her "don't limit your reach" comment, which I think it has been identified and shared with you very much today. Think outside the box, focus on serving others and being curious, and most importantly, stay true to you and leverage what you've already created. And if you're needing a hand with that, please reach out to Linda. So again, if everyone can thank Linda and reach out to Linda and connect with Linda across the social media platforms, that would be fantastic. So again, thank you very, very much, Linda, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We will look forward to seeing you again on another episode of Success Secrets Exposed next week. Have a great weekend and see you again soon. Take care.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and I trust that you got some inspirational tips to move you forward. You can find this episode along with many more on your favorite streaming platform such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for more Success Secrets Exposed with Sally A. Curtis.